Alrighty. I mean, we already kind of prefaced it, but we'll go more in depth now. So now playoffs are almost here. We're gonna go over some potential first round matchups as of, and I mean, I'm not sure how you want to do it. I would just go off the standings the way they are right now, and then just go off that, or we can add in a few playing teams just to. But yeah, we're gonna go over some first round matchups that we think would be really good matchups. Kind of like the Rockets and Blazers had when Dame went off that one year. We have had a few in recent years. I'm trying to remember last year. Did No, that was like second round. The Jazz Nuggets, right? That was I think that was second round.
No, that was first round
That was
because
first round.
Clippers Nuggets was second
Oh
round.
yeah,
Remember? Because the
yeah.
Clippers
So,
didn't make the
anyways,
conference title.
okay. So I remember I was in the right place. So yeah, I mean that series was a great series. Remember, it was just Mitchell and Murray just basically dueling every other game, either taking turns dropping 50. And I love it also, by the way. They're not doing a bubble this year, right, for the playoffs. I don't think, right?
I don't think so.
I did love. I remember last year when I think it was Murray. He like posted. He's like Donovan just dropped 50 on us. He's over here. And I got to see him
Yeah,
again.
they're like at the pool or something, and
Yeah,
he's like,
man,
yeah.
what I would have given just to be like, just to been able to walk around the bubble and just see all these. Um, but anyway, we're going with some matchups. So we talked a little bit of East. We'll start in the West. I'll go first. I think an intriguing one. If the Lakers can pull out of the seventh spot, obviously we mentioned before the Battle of LA first round. We get what we want to. Um, Obviously, I mean that's just stating the obvious. Um, I mean, I don't want to be mean to Phoenix or Utah. I'm trying to think of good matchups, but
But
uh,
I mean, here's what I'll say on that. I think any of the three teams the Clippers could potentially play, assuming the Clippers stay at three, are interesting for the narratives, right?
Dallas
If
gave
the
them trouble
Lakers get to
last year.
six, yeah, if the Lakers get to six, it's the Battle of LA. If Dallas plays them, I mean, one of my roommates is a Mavericks fan, and Mavericks fans truly believe if Porzingis didn't get hurt and didn't he get like ejected or something like that? Like there were
Did he get ejected? It was like some bad. It was not a good
Yeah, like
ejection. I
they
remember.
truly believe if Porzingis was allowed, if he was healthy and was able to play the series, they believe they could have beat that Clippers team last year. So getting a rematch with them, maybe it's interesting. Also, I know there's some bad blood with like Luca, which I mean he started to have bad blood with a lot of people because he gets kind of emotional. But there's bad blood with him and I think it's Marcus Morris is on the Clippers. I
One of
can't
the
remember which
Morris
of the
twins.
Morris twins. But I mean, they got into it. It was a whole deal. They both got texts, so there's some drama there. And then also if the Trailblazers play them, I mean, these are the guys going back and forth on Twitter, Patrick Beverly and, the Blazers dudes and Paul George, and they're all Cancun on three and all this stuff. So we know that there'd be some stuff there. So honestly, I think anybody the Clippers could play at that spot could be pretty interesting, assuming once again the Clippers stay at three and any of those teams fall to six.
I'm trying to. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to see if Porzingis. I know he's been injured. He's been out. I'm trying to see if there's like any status where they think there's no word. But yeah, if he does come back, that is a big issue. He did pose problems for the Clippers last in the last playoffs when they played, and they did have success. So yeah, I mean, I do agree. Any three of those, especially, but I think especially like we mentioned the Lakers and then the Mavs and then Blazers would that. I mean, actually, all would be. I forgot. Yeah, because the whole Dame the PG thing, and the Clippers have kind of been. They haven't been doing great as of recently. I know they've lost a couple, dropped a couple of games. So that's an interesting one. West is hard. I mean,
I mean, is it crazy of us to say that the Lakers Warriors playing game might be more exciting than any of the, which it's one game, but that matchup actually might be more
will
exciting than
be.
any of these like first round
It's
ones.
because of Steph Curry because he could just drop 40 and then all of a sudden Lakers got to play for their lives. I will say, if I was shout out to our Phoenix fan, Kyle, and I imagine he probably feels. I wonder what his thoughts, but like, would you rather face the Lakers if you're the two seeded Suns, or like the Warriors? Because I feel like you'd rather play the Warriors because it's like, okay, we just have to stop Steph, and especially the way Aiton's been especially I'm not sure we've been critical of him on the pod, but it's just, he hasn't really lived up to number one overall billing that he got, especially recently. So like I wouldn't want him going up against an Anthony. Not that they would match up, but I just wouldn't want him going up against an Anthony Davis or Drummond first round. Maybe it'd be better if he went up against a Draymond or Kevon Looney. So
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for the Suns because they lost to both of those teams in their last two games.
yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, you probably have to say Warriors just because if LeBron is rested, healthy, ready to go, I don't think anyone doubts that a healthy Lakers team is one of the favorites to come out of the West, regardless of the seed, right? But the concern there is still the health. So
yeah,
there's question marks there. So you know what you're getting with the Warriors, right? Like you said, if you stop Steph, ideally you should win a series. I know that I mean, the Warriors just beat the Suns off of Andrew Wiggins going off like 38, but like that's not going to happen in a 7 game series consistently. So
nope,
yeah, I think if you're Phoenix, you'd rather play Golden State in that 2-7 matchup. Um, but at the same time, I mean, what a confidence boost if you could beat the reigning champs, but also maybe this is the best time to play the Lakers. Is hopefully there's some chemistry issues. Hopefully LeBron's still a little hobbled. It's just such a tough spot for Phoenix. Honestly, they just yeah. You'd rather play the Warriors just because you know what you're getting. There's not a question mark, but you never know with the Lakers because if injuries are a concern, it could it sounds weird, but it could be the easier matchup because maybe he struggles when he comes back, and maybe the whole system gets out of whack because they're trying to use him, but maybe he's not ready and all that kind of stuff. So
all right. And then one other one I want to throw out is like let's say is another good matchup. I'm not sure you mentioned is if the standings stay the same, Denver Portland. I feel like that'd be a very although that's gonna be a sucky one because like we won't be able to watch it much of it because that game's gonna start like at 9:30 Central Time because they're both West Coast
yeah,
ish. I mean Denver's Mountain Time, but it's basically West Coast. Um, but yeah, and then the other one, last one I wanted to mention was like Utah. If like Utah played a Golden State, I think that'd be an interesting series, especially if Steph because like you mentioned, I think before in the last podcast, like Gobert hasn't been effective. Past playoff runs, Gobert hasn't been as effective as he is in the regular season, and I'm wondering, and can Utah stop a Steph Curry and it's tough because now I'm thinking about all the Golden State roster is still not good overall. But I mean, I mean, I can see Golden State pushing that series to like 6 and making it an interesting one. But otherwise, I mean, I love my Spurs. In an ideal world, I think we would match up with a lot of teams. I just don't think that. I think we'd be competitive. I just don't see us winning. We're just not. We just need. We haven't learned to win as a young team, as evident by the fact that we give DeMar DeRozan the ball to win games, and it most of the time doesn't work out. So, and I know one of my friends wants us to drop out of the play-in spot for a better draft pick. Not gonna name his name though.
yeah. I saw somebody say that about the Celtics. They were like, "Do you just want to lose the play-in so we just get a better pick than losing in the playoffs?" And I was like, "No, like just give it a shot." You get to see the young guys, especially get actual playoff minutes. That's
Yeah,
the important thing to me. I mean, like, is getting 2 spots higher better than seeing your young players get valuable playoff time? I don't know. I'd rather see the playoffs, but um, the Spurs are tough because I mean, if they did get in, they'd be the 8th seed, and they just played Utah back to back, I think, and they lost both. One of them was by like 30. But then like they go and beat the Bucks, like big. So the Spurs are just kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
I have no clue what could happen with the Spurs. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's most likely, that out of all these teams in the play-in for the West, obviously we know the Lakers, but I'm talking even just like the Warriors, Grizzlies, Spurs. The Warriors are that one team that it feels like the Trailblazers almost last year, to where like Dame was just going crazy and he was willing them to wins. And there was even like talks of like, man, like maybe they upset the Lakers, maybe they do, whatever. So I think with Steph and just the level that he's playing, maybe you mix in a good performance from Andrew Wiggins, maybe you mix in a good performance from like Draymond or somebody else. Maybe they have a shot at taking down that 1 seed, but I think realistically, yeah, any of these play-in teams, except for maybe the Lakers, are probably going to get bounced in that first round.
yeah. But no, on our podcast, like we didn't talk about Memphis, and they're gonna be the team that makes noise. because
Yeah, and then John Morant goes crazy.
Jaren
They
Jackson
upset the
finally
Jazz.
gets back to form and drops a bunch. So all right, so that was the
Which question? Do you know the injury status of Donovan Mitchell? Do we know when he's supposed to come back? Because I know he's still not playing.
I don't know. And let me
Because
see.
if he's not healthy, I mean, I know that Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles and Bogdanovich, some of these guys have been stepping up in his absence. But you wonder, in the playoffs, if Mitchell's not there, and those guys don't necessarily have those games they're having right now, that could be a big series for a potential 7 or 8 seed that falls to that 8 spot. That could maybe get the upset. You never know.
So I see. I'm reading. This is a article, or this is from Tim McMahon from ESPN. It's like 3 days ago. It just there's a report Donovan Mitchell will miss the last 3 regular season games, and he'll be really evaluated for the playoffs. So
Okay.
maybe they're just gonna, maybe they're just playing it safe, and then maybe hoping that he'll be good to go by then. So kind of like Porzingis, still not really sure, but I feel like it seems like this, just from when I'm reading, where I read, there's more optimism with Mitchell. So
Right.
we'll have to see how that pans out. But all right, so that's the West first round. Now we go to the East. We already kind of prefaced, Celtics at 7. And yeah, so we'll go. So for regards to Philly, I think Philly's going to be the 1 seed. All right, once again, we're going off that, but potential 8 seed. Charlotte. I don't think Charlotte wants to see Philly because once again, like with the Celtics, who is going to check Embiid? They don't have anybody to check Embiid.
I mean, that's the tough part about the whole East, to be honest. Like Embiid kind of runs it when it comes to big men, and there's no real threats to him in the East. I mean, like
Potentially
Clint
Indiana,
Capella. I mean, Indiana could
because
be,
Miles Turner, but
Miles Turner also, like, he has a lot of games against Embiid where he does not look like he's good at defense.
yeah. But
I mean, realistically, the best team against Embiid would be Miami, but there's not a potential first round matchup there. So,
and one thing too, I just want to note, like I'm interested to see how teams. I'm interested to see what happens with Ben Simmons in the playoffs. Because we've seen last few playoffs where teams play him, they completely disregard him on offense, basically. So I'm interested to see if that happens again, and if Doc Rivers has answers for that. This unlike Brett Brown and the previous regime, because that'll be important too. But yeah,
because
really,
it's gonna happen. I mean,
yeah,
Embiid's playing at a level it's gonna happen.
it's the playoffs. And, teams actually play game plan defenses and things like that. We see a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, Brooklyn. I mean, I don't want to be. I mean, once again, I think if Boston was fully healthy, it would have been a more interesting matchup. Tatum Brown against them. But and once again, I'm interested to see how they play in the playoffs because I feel like first round's they're gonna be fine. But once it gets to the second round, that's when when they play the more cohesive, a team that's almost as talented as them, but maybe better cohesively. I think that'll be an interesting matchup. But I really don't. I mean, matchup wise, I think we mentioned Boston. It'd be interesting to see the
Well,
Knicks just because battle of New York. But once again, I think the Knicks would fall short just because I think we saw the other night against the Lakers. I mean, we may have to talk about this another time, but R.J. Barrett was just not good, and really Julius Randle's their only consistent score outside Derrick Rose. But those two are their only consistent scores, and Derrick Rose is not. Derrick Rose scoring is like 18-20. He's not dropping 30-40 consistently. So, I mean, you mentioned Milwaukee and Boston. That would be an interesting one. Imagine if
the two most interesting ones to me, which I don't think both can happen. No, both can't happen. Well, technically both could if the Knicks fell into the play-in, but it would. I would like to see the Knicks play the Nets because I think the Knicks fans are just electric right now, and if they can't get to that 4-5 game, which is where they really want to be, because that's their best chance to get out of the first round. I think if you could play the Nets first round like that, that's their best chance, in my opinion, because they have the momentum, the fuel. They don't have to travel, and also ideally the Nets they don't have chemistry. The Knicks are a really good defensive team, so they match up well stylistically against a really good offensive team who is not very good at defense. So I don't think the Knicks, necessarily are. I'm not picking them to win that series, but I think that would be a really exciting one because imagine the Knicks, the year that the Nets assemble, the
the God
best
Squad,
trio in the league. yeah, the God Squad. All the players are Blake Griffin. They want to go to the Nets, and the Knicks with Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau and R.J. Barrett, Derrick Rose, washed up Derrick Rose. They beat the Nets and they crown themselves the kings of New York. Stephen A. would be losing his mind.
Yeah,
The narratives there would just be fun.
and once again, in regards to the next shout out to our good friend Moses, also he would probably lose his mind as well.
He would go ballistic if they beat the
I'd be
Nets.
so happy for them, but because
Oh yeah,
it's been a long, they've had some rough years. But
yeah.
honestly, too, I think Milwaukee does not want to see Miami fall to the sixth seed because didn't they get I
I want
forget,
to see it.
didn't they get bounced by them that's when
They
one.
beat them 4-1 last
Okay, so
last
that's what I'm
year,
saying.
and they only won that one game when it was like 3-0, and then they won, and
Yeah,
then they went to the
it
next
was
round.
a desperation game. So yeah, I think if you're a Milwaukee fan, you do not want to see Miami fall to the sixth seed because once again, just a bad matchup because they can just stick Bam on Giannis, basically what they did last year. But I'd be interested to see how the Hawks play, just because. I mean, I don't think Trae Young's ever made it to the playoffs, and just if the game slows down, gets more physical, I'm not entirely sure. Kind of like with Luke, I'm not entirely sure they can make a deep run just playing the way they play. But we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong. I just don't have much confidence in their longevity. But especially if they do play a Heat first round, like a team that's built for playoff basketball, I don't think that's a good matchup for them.
If they match the Heat, I could see the Heat destroying them. I don't think the way the Hawks play
Same
is.
thing with like the Knicks. Like I just don't think like I think
I
if
think
you're
the
the
Knicks would have a better chance because the Knicks are a little more gritty, but the Hawks, it feels like, you know,
yeah,
it feels like the Heat play playoff basketball. They're on that other level, and they're also kind of underrated when it comes to seeding this year, just because of injuries, COVID, all the different stuff. I wouldn't count the Heat out. I mean, they won 11 out of their last 13 games, so I wouldn't
peaking
count
at
the
the
Heat
right
out by
time.
any means. Yeah, so I wouldn't count them out. And also, I mean, they're doing this without Victor Oladipo, which sucks. That I think he's also ruled out for the
Yeah,
playoffs now.
he's been rolled out for a season,
Um,
which is unfortunate as a
but
Oladipo fan.
it's basically the same team as last year. I mean, like they don't have
Jay Crowder.
Kelly Olynyk and Jay Crowder and Myers Leonard, but Jay Crowder was really the only one that played consistent playoff minutes out of those guys anyway. And they have Trevor Ariza now, so they've sort of filled that void. And also Kendrick Nunn is playing a lot better this year than he, did last year. Hopefully that continues in the playoffs because last year in the playoffs he really just did not play.
To be to be fair, it annoys me too. Like it's just sometimes when teams they have good benches and like I understand some teams you shorten your bench, you only play 8 guys, but some teams when it's your strength when you play 9 or 10, it just annoys me sometimes when they stray away from that and then they lose because they only play 8 guys. It's just and I think that's really what happened with Kendrick. 'Cause it wasn't until like the finals because Dragic got hurt that he had to play
Yeah.
more minutes. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, which I will say, Dragic. I mean, the guard rotation they had of Dragic, Hero, and Duncan Robinson, all three were killing it during that playoff run. So maybe it was just Kendrick started to struggle a little bit. I didn't watch their first series. I don't know what happened there, but I know that in their second series against the Bucks, Kendrick Nunn that was when he started to stop playing really. But he's doing good this year. So yeah, I think the Heat. I mean, they're basically the same team as last year. With a few different pieces in there. So I think they're one of those dark horse teams, just like they were last year, that a lot of people might forget about them, but they could make a lot of noise. But yeah, I would love to see them play Milwaukee again because a lot of people they're hating on Giannis. They don't want to see him win, and this would give him an opportunity to conquer the team that destroyed them last year and upset them and brought about all these narratives and the talks of him leaving and all this stuff, that he's not good enough to lead a team, so he could beat that team in the first round. But for the Heat, it's them getting to do it again, and if they do it again, I think that boosts them in a lot of people's minds because they beat the Bucks again. All of a sudden, it starts to become like when LeBron would just dominate the Raptors, right? Like Jimmy Butler, he just dominates the Bucks,
yeah.
So, yeah. Other than that, the East, like we've talked about, there's not a lot of interesting matchups, honestly, outside of, in my opinion, the Battle of New York or that one.
Only other one, just personality wise, because they've had some tiffs beforehand, is if
Same.
Washington gets to like the 8th seed, because Westbrook and Embiid.
Yep.
But once
Yep.
again, like I mentioned, out they don't have an answer for Embiid. So, but otherwise, yeah. I mean, I think. Did you have any more, or was that? we wrap it
No,
there.
that's it.
All
I think the first round's tough because I feel like the second round is where a lot of the more interesting matchups could come out. I
Yeah,
mean,
because you
uh,
get
I really want to see Milwaukee, Brooklyn, just because of the exciting Durant, Giannis duels that we've seen so far. Um, there's just a. I'd love to see Miami play Philadelphia. Jimmy Butler says, "Screw you guys, you didn't offer me the max," and tries to beat them. That'd be
I mean, that
awesome.
could happen. Philly's the 1 seed, Miami's the 5 seed right now. Even if they
Yeah.
move up to the 4 and they win their matchup, then yeah, they'll play in the second round.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like the second round is where you get a lot more interesting matchups, but you never know. I mean, there's still 3 games left. Anything could happen. The West seems pretty much set in stone for the most part, outside of that 5, 6, 7 spot. And has has Dallas clinched playoffs? So Dallas can't go to the play-in.
They're at least can be the 6th seed.
Okay, so Dallas can't
Um,
drop, but Portland and LA, it's still between them two of who's going to be who's going to be 7. I don't know what happens with if LA moves up if they have the tiebreaker over Dallas like Portland does, but
yeah.
there's still
Um,
stuff. I mean, the East though I feel like is pretty set in stone. The only thing that I think really changes there is maybe the play-in spot, like the Wizards maybe overtake the Pacers, or I think realistically the Heat are probably going to jump over the Hawks.
yeah, so we'll see. My Spurs, they gotta, to even get in the play-in, we have to win. I think, I think we should have to win one of our next few games.
Actually,
But
I take it back. The Hawks play the Magic and the Rockets. They're probably going to hold that
yeah,
spot. Anyway,
anyways, but in regards to my Spurs, we got to win one of our next 4 games. But and I'm not sure I mentioned last podcast, but yeah, next 4 games. But tonight we play Brooklyn. At least we're recording this on Wednesday. And then we play tomorrow night, so back to back. And then we play Phoenix Saturday, Sunday. So,
I mean, to
um,
beat Milwaukee, and that one to me, I thought was going to be the toughest of all of these games,
mhm.
just because Milwaukee's still
And Milwaukee played
jockeying for
everybody.
that
It's not
two.
like Milwaukee sat. They played
Yeah,
everybody. Um,
yeah.
so
So I mean,
So
at
my
this
hope
point,
is
you
that
never know.
like by the time we play Phoenix, like because right now they're 2 games ahead of the Clippers. Hopefully, and like 2 games behind the Jazz. So hopefully by then, like maybe it's gotten to the point like maybe the Jazz win and the Clippers lose, so that there's like like they can't move up or down. So then they're like, okay, well let's just rest. We're not gonna we'll rest Book and CP3 and Aiton.
Yeah, I mean the tough part. So the Suns play the Trailblazers and then y'all twice, so that could go any way for them.
So
And then the Clippers, they play
okay.
Charlotte, Houston, and OKC.
Okay,
So they're probably gonna.
they probably win 2 out of those 3. I
I
need
mean, if they
so
lose one, it's gonna be Charlotte
come on, Lamelo, and then after
because Houston and OKC are just tanking. They're tanking.
yeah. And I'm sorry. Let me see who the Jazz play. Jazz. I just saw it too. They played the Trailblazers. Damn it, the Thunder and the
Thunder
Kings.
and the Kings. Yeah, that's tough. Trailblazers are really the key here.
Yeah, I know. I need Portland. Okay, so they played tonight. All right, so Trailblazers have to lose tonight
You kind of want them to lose
and
and
then
then beat
win.
the Suns. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So we'll see how that pans out for me and my Spurs. Or once again, or we can just take care of business ourselves, but that'll be tough. But regardless, that'll wrap it up for this NBA episode. We're gonna do at least one more NFL. Probably come out this weekend. Gotta go. The schedule actually comes out in an hour from when we're recording the full schedule. We got week 1.
Most of it's been leaked.
Yeah, but we'll confirmed because
Yeah,
I was about to
yeah,
text
yeah.
my stepdad like because he's a Chiefs fan and he's planning on going to the Chiefs Packers game this Arrowhead. I was planning to text him like, oh, it's on week 9, but like, I should wait till it's official because I don't want to text
Oh, y'all play because that new rule, right? Where
because the week 17 game.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say I was like because we play the Chiefs and y'all aren't. But yeah, okay.
so but once again, I'm still not sure if we'll buy tickets. Okay, so my parents are going regardless, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna purchase a ticket too because I'm not gonna go if Aaron Rodgers ain't playing. So
Smart.
I'm just being real. Like I'm not
Blake
gonna.
Bortles versus Patrick
Oh gosh,
Mahomes.
I don't know. So, anyways, that'll wrap it up. As per usual, wherever you're listening, watching, like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Instagram. John's been doing amazing work as per usual. He also does layouts too, by the way, in case you didn't know. But otherwise, we will see y'all this weekend. Hopefully, your team, if you're gets in the playoffs for basketball, unless they're in the West for me, because my Spurs need to get in. But otherwise, everyone enjoy your week and have a nice night.